IMHO Talk Show, Sir Charles, Miss Max, and we are here still standing as always. Tell a friend, IMHO Talk Show online, wherever you need to find us. Make sure you reach out. Keep the good info coming. The healthy criticism or not so healthy too, I guess, Miss Max. Just let us know what you think. As long as you're listening, that's all we really care about. And I'm sharing those links. And speaking of still standing, we are really talking about a celebration of women once again in our area that are doing big things, that are running the city literally, and not only the city, but definitely giving them high regards because they have been all around the country in marathons and what have you. And we have the Prolyfyck Soul Sisters with us right now, and I'm going to get them to introduce themselves and kind of give a quick background, just a brief bio on how they got involved in the Prolyfyck Run crew, and then after that we'll kick it to Wanika Howard that's with us to talk more about how the Soul Sisters kind of came to be. But let's go ahead and down the line so our listening audience can know who we have in the studio with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm Shalomith Gonzalez, and I ran my first marathon with the Prolyfyck Soul Sisters in October. I first came out to Prolyfyck to run almost 4 years ago now. Had friends that were a big part of the community, the running community, and had been encouraging me to come out for a while. I started out as a walker only because we have walkers in the group, and I would always see Wanika and Tabia, and I hadn't met April then, but a couple other members of the group, sexy pacing, as they call it. But I was walking with Ms. Howard, Wanika's mom, and she finally told me, why aren't you with them? And I was like, because I'm not a runner. And she was like, oh, you could do what they're doing. And so that's how I started running. Man,
awesome. Thank you.
Hello, I am Tabia Munt, and I started running with Prolyfyck in 2021. And I also started off as a walker, and I was also inspired by Wanika.
Okay.
And so, we started off running small distances, and we did 8Ks and did a half in 2023. And this year we ran our first marathon in Detroit. And
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Hey everyone, I'm Wanika Howard. I joined Prolyfyck when all of my other run friends had moved out. They were transplants and moved away. And so I was stalking them, but they were running way too fast. So one of my run buddies was like, just get out there and do it. And so I did join them. My first run, there was no sexy pace, no C route. So I did die out there and was revived. But then I was like, I'm not going to let these hills beat me. So
there you go.
I kept coming back until I conquered the hills. And within running with Prolyfyck, I did my first half marathon. And then we turned around and we decided to go for the gusto and do our first full marathon. As the Soul Sisters.
Awesome. Thank you. Next up.
I'm April Brown. I've been running with Prolyfyck now for 2 years, I think. I started with my first race was a 4-miler, and then the next year decided to do the marathon. So I ran a marathon in Detroit, and now it's just what we're doing.
That's right. Thank y'all. I have a story for myself too. I'm not much of a runner either, and I told Wes and Will I wasn't coming out there and taking my shirt off because they weren't embarrassing me. They can take their shirts off, but so y'all ain't gonna embarrass me. So, no. but no, thank y'all for joining us. So, I did notice on your site though it says there's officially 7 members. Y'all want to shout out a couple that we're missing?
Yes, I want to shout out Cheryl Robinson of Jaybird. Catch her out. She's always dishing up coffee. And Lexi Alexandra, she's at UVA. She's a professor.
All right, awesome. Thank
our
you
baby.
Oh, yes. How could I forget the baby girl? My baby girl, Nene. What was it? The coldest in the city. The coldest in the city. Stunner.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Our only high schooler in the group.
Does everyone have a nickname?
No.
No. Okay. Look, she's like, don't say that. Don't give him any ideas.
But if you watch the documentary, her title is exactly as she wanted it.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Gotcha.
That is
Yeah.
our running joke now.
Yeah, so we are going to get more into that too. We are joined by the Prolyfyck Soul Sisters, and I know Juanica isn't shy, but I think she's trying to give y'all some shine time because she's a frequent guest on here. So whoever wants to step up and be the spokesperson to tell us how the Prolyfyck Soul Sisters came to be, please feel free to do so.
That needs to be Juanica because the Soul Sisters came to be because of Juanica.
Thanks,
Well,
Keisha.
Juanica, you've been delegated. I don't know what to tell you.
Gosh almighty. Okay. So we had just finished Boston, and everyone was just like regrouping and talking about future plannings and things they want to do, what their next step was. And I was just like, ooh, I wonder if I could run 26 miles. I don't know if I want to do the race. I just want to see if I could get my body to do that. And it was January, and I was out just running, and fellow runner Ben was like, so what's up next? What do you want to do next? What are you thinking about? And I was like, I tell you, you can't hold me to it. And he was like, just tell me, what is it? And I was like, I want to know if I could push my body to do 26.2 miles. And he was like, you should sign up for a marathon. You could totally do it. And I was like, no. I just want to train. I just want to see if I can do it. Because in my head, if I sign up for it, then I'm like locked in and committed. And I don't want the commitment. I got enough. I'm committed to enough. I didn't want that part. And he was like, what if I said there were other people that would run with you? I was like, if you can find someone that runs my pace that wants to do a marathon, I'll do it. But I'm not doing it by myself. And you have to train with me the entire time because I need someone out there to feel the pain as well. And so we were coming around cold shower, and he was like, all right, who's the first person we're going to approach? And I was like, I don't know. You talk to more people than I do. Who do you think? And he was like, well, let's put Tabia down. Let's do Courtney. And then I was like, okay. And then Cheryl, because Cheryl had previously trained and got injured and she couldn't do it. And so I was like, definitely get Cheryl in. And then I was like going through the list of BIPOC women in the group. And I was like, what about Lexi? What about Shalomith? And I was like, April. And so we had a group of BIPOC females that had never actually ran a marathon. And when Ben went to ask them separately, because I was like, I can't ask them, and then they say no. They all came back. There was no one that said no. They were all like, yes, I'm going to give it a try. Like, if we're going to do it together.
I really got to do this.
That part. You feel me. You feel me. So I was like, okay, then where do we start? What do we do next? Like, okay, we said yes. Now what? And so we had some awesome people in the community to give input on like how to train, as far as like weight training, running, speed workout, then how to like support the body after the run, like cold soaks, compressions, all the things, because like we knew none of the things. Like we were completely green. Like, what? You got to get in the what? Why I got to do this? But yeah, like the community of runners definitely showed up to support us and like give us different options, and then also helping us with that mental part. And so I definitely have to shout out Kat and Chris Kidd, Kat Lawrence, for like giving us the mental part of it, because just as much as it is physical, it's definitely a mental game of like,
if not more.
Like you really be going there, like you feel like you are in your own like wilderness, and you just got to like come out of it. And so running those long distance in preparation, like you get time to be in your head and like really process whether it's things going on in life, work, or just the run itself.
So break that down for us, whoever may want, because I know that Prolyfyck definitely has been recognized, throughout the community as being, like family oriented, and like you're there for each other, and it's a support group and all those kind of things. So I want to hear more from you all about the sisterhood of the Soul Sisters, like what it means to you, because it's deeper than running, obviously, right? Sure. So I would just like to hear some of your stories on what being a Soul Sister means to you.
And I know y'all can't be this quiet while y'all out there running, especially with those guys. I know it. I know better.
Yeah, I think from like day one, if we're waking up at 5:15, we're meeting at Jeff's school. We got people texting us, to get up and get out there, encouraging us. So I think, once we all made the decision, we were in it, intertwined. We had an Instagram group where we complain all day about how much we're in pain. We have the text groups that wake the people up who we know are going to be late.
Why did she look at me?
But also, through all the training, life stuff is going on.
Right.
And I think we really came together for each other, because if you got shit going on, you might not feel like getting up to run. That's so facts. We deal with that so that we can keep going.
Yeah. Okay, good answer. Anybody else? Thank you for sharing that.
Don't be quiet, April.
I think I'm probably one of the more shy ones in the group. It was kind of like forced on me, this group of people that I have to talk to and hang out with, and
she loves us.
I do.
Keep it 100.
I don't like to hang out with people, so this is very different for me, and I've never had, I've had women in my family, but I've never had friends in my life like this that I can talk to about anything.
That's awesome.
And it's just new for me, and it's something I'm extremely grateful for, because I would not have put myself in that situation unless Juanica asked me to be a part of this. And then all of a sudden it was just everything all at once. But it was great.
That's awesome.
I love that one picture of you that Holly took, because your face is just like pure joy. It was after one of the runs, and your face is just like radiating joy, and that's after a long run. So that means a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny how Juanica has that impact on people. It's almost like she's a trained therapist or something. I don't know what it is. Yes, indeed.
Oh, yes. We did get some therapy on some of those long runs. You can't do 18 miles next to Juanica and not get some therapy. So it's good.
Yeah. Now, so what separates, so to speak, the Soul Sisters from just being a member of Prolyfyck? What's the prerequisite? Is Soul Sisters for those who want to do marathons, or what is it?
So we're all Prolyfyck.
What's required?
We're all Prolyfyck. It's just that us 7 first-time marathoners trained together to go to Detroit.
Okay.
So,
got you. So the story.
It's just Detroit.
Documents that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So let's dig into that. Who wants to kind of kick off, introduce people to the work, the production behind the documentary? How did that come to be, and all that good stuff?
So I don't know if you're familiar with the first film that was done about Prolyfyck.
Yes.
That was also a Brooks-sponsored film, and kind of gave the context for the group and what it means to be Black runners, and especially in Charlottesville, and what it meant to create community and space for that. And I think you see in that film how it's so much more than running, right? We've talked about that. And you see in the film the circle time at the end of the run. When I came out to Prolyfyck, I was going through a really rough time. And this isn't unique to me. This story, a lot of people in Prolyfyck will tell you this, that it seemed to enter our lives at just the right moment. We didn't even know we needed this, and it showed up in our lives. And what kept me coming back wasn't so much the physical exercise, although that was great, it was those moments in community like that. For me, I was raised as a person of faith, but left it as an adult because I was really disillusioned with it. But it was the closest I had had to a spiritual experience in a very long time. So I think the first film lays that out, and you even see Juanica in that film say, you know, I'm no fucking runner. And then she talks about, though, her desire to run a marathon. And so the second film was also a Brooks, produced or sponsored film to kind of give the picture of this journey.
Gotcha.
So when we first came together and we knew who was going to train for Detroit, I think it was me, Shalomith, and Juanica. We were like, we have to document this. Like, we can't do this thing and not document it. I know for me, as soon as Ben said, "Do you wanna?" I was like, "Yes." And so I started looking for and watching documentaries of people training for marathons, and there were no people of color. It was just all mainly white men. And so we got together and we wrote a pitch to Brooks, and we were like, basically, you don't want to miss out on this opportunity, because where have you seen 7 women, black and brown women, coming together to train for a marathon? And they said yes. They found Kenny, or we found Kenny, who's the filmmaker. And it just happened real fast.
Awesome.
And I don't think when we were in it, we realized really how special it was. We were kind of just doing our thing. And so that's why I'm going to be forever grateful to this project, to have it, to have captured those moments. We have it on film forever. I'm really, really proud of it, because when you're in it, you're not thinking about like, oh, we have a high schooler and this is, good for high schools to see, or on the opposite end, we got a 50-year-old running, for the first time in her life, and then we've got black women, we've got, all different types of backgrounds, physiques, levels, and represented. And I don't think we thought about that in that moment, but I'm really proud of what it can mean to other people who will see themselves reflected in the film.
Yeah, that's awesome. Family, we are joined by the Prolyfyck Soul Sisters. These are awesome stories, and you got me thinking just now. I'm curious on do you all ever have the conversation, or maybe why that is, on why the representation has been low, like when it comes to BIPOC people being marathon runners or whatnot, and my mind can't help but go to like when we watch the Olympics. Like there's usually African countries that's usually leading. So somewhere along the pathway, we got disconnected from that skill, from that talent, or even recognizing that we have that ability. So I'm just curious, like, you all ever have those conversations on sort of like why we're disengaged, and maybe ways to try to get more of us engaged in running?
So I think part of that is that European Americans have made it an individualistic sport, where it's you want to run your fastest and you want to be the top. Whereas if you look at other countries like Africa, they run in packs. Like even when we went to Boston and we got to see the Boston Marathon, like when you see the top runners, they were all African and they were running in the pack. And you would see certain ones take a lead at certain times, but they were so tight knit.
It's a team.
Yes, like they really make it like a team sport. And then someone takes the lead and wins. But like when you see that, like that was so transformative for me, seeing Boston Marathon the very first time and seeing all of the African male and then the African females, like they were the top. Like there was like miles between anyone else coming up against them, and I was like, they run in a group, like they run in a pack. And so I think because European America has made it so much of an individual thing and got away from community, it's not as interesting to us, because we are folks of community.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Most marginalized BIPOC communities, like we stick together, like we really support each other. So if we were able to transform it into something that was like, no, we are all doing this together, we are all training together, no one leaves the parking lot at the end until everyone is home. No one starts out the run until everyone is ready to start. And like that is how we planned it. And then we also had folks that were like, be our pacers. And so we brought in additional community to be like, you're not running this alone. Like, you don't do this by yourself. So that's one thing, and I don't think that's shared in, well, they just recently caught on to it, but it's not really shared or known as far as like the run community. Like, it's always like the leader of the pack who jumps out first, like, and that's the one that we capitalize on. There's not a lot about that community part. The other thing is that it's very labor intensive and time consuming, and so if you look at BIPOC folks, like, we wear multiple hats all the time.
And it costs a lot.
That part. Like, and so you take away the time and effort that it takes, like, just for when we got towards like 16, 18, 20 miles, like that was taking the majority of our Saturday, and then you were just depleted. So like someone who has to work on the weekends, like, where do you find the time? And again, I'll shout out Cheryl. She's our indigenous runner, but she would work on Saturdays. And so some of her long runs had to be on Sunday. And so we were always like, Cheryl, what do you need? How can we support you? And then make sure you're doing the self-care afterwards, because your body is so drained and depleted. And as Tabia said, like, they like to say all you need is running shoes, but that's not the real reality. Like, if you are a full-size woman, you need a really good supporter bra, or you're not getting past go. Like, you just not doing it. It's just not going to happen. If you are a plus-size runner, to find like the right article of clothing that's not falling down or like cut too tight or creating chafing, like there's lots of things that you have to consider. If you're too tall or you're too short, like. And most people know that if you are a specialized shape, that means your clothes are going to cost more. And so then we get into the cost again, and then you think about, how do we fuel for this? Like, that's expensive. Like, if you looked at Goose and like all the things that they say you need for long, that's expensive.
And physical therapy.
The PT,
exactly.
Because we're not straight bodies. And so we hurt. We got all this extra weight, or booties and titties and everything. And
that's all the things.
All the things. And, you know.
Can you bleep that out?
Why? Yeah. So, you know, we have to, you know, support our joints after. Go see the doctor. Go see PT. And that's chiropractor. It costs money.
Right.
Yeah.
I also think that running is just hard. I mean, I grew up playing soccer, and I hated running, and I didn't like it until I joined Prolyfyck. I mean, I think that's probably the only reason why I still do it, is because that makes it fun. Because otherwise, it is not. I mean, doing it by yourself, I couldn't imagine doing it.
And
now, I think. Sorry.
Go ahead. You can finish your thought.
I think other people would join. You know, if they knew a community to be a part of.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because speaking of community, I know just in conversation with talking with like folks like Littles and Will, like they talk about the impact and the feeling that they get of roaming the city, you know, of how it feels to be like the first one up, and you get to like experience the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm curious if anybody wants to share like that piece of, you know, of it being Charlottesville, and everybody knows on how all the craziness that has happened, you know, since Prolyfyck's, you know, in inception of all this community has been through. Like, what about that feeling of just being a citizen and like roaming the streets and neighborhood to neighborhood? Like how has that experience impacted you?
And before you start to answer that, we'll also consider responding to the opposite side of that, because I'm sure at some point or another, everyone is responded to while you're out running the streets as if you don't belong. This isn't a space for you. This isn't your city, you know, and why you're here. And so whether or not you deal with any of those challenges, of course, they're much easier to deal with when you got a team with you, people backing you. But if you experience that and how that impacts you, you know, to the positive or negative, as far as what you're trying to accomplish with Prolyfyck Soul Sisters.
There's always a point in the morning. 5:15 is when my alarm goes off. And you make the decision, am I going to sleep because it feels really good, or am I going to get up and get out there? And when you get out there, it feels even better because the city is waking up. You're running through these communities. You see the kids getting ready, walking to the bus stop, and they're cheering. Like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, awesome. It's like a parade for them. Like they're cheering for us. And we're setting an example for them, and that feels really good.
Yeah.
I think we've experienced both ends of the spectrum with that, because we have folks, like in some of these communities, like Tabia saying, who knows the time we're going to come out, and they can make a point of being out there and greeting us, and then like Littles has given them hats or T-shirts to wear. We see them as part of this community, this family. We have also had people irate at us talking about making noise early in the morning, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, they live on Main Street on a corner above bars, so I'm saying I'm sure they're not out there complaining about that noise, and we're only there for a little bit. And I really respect those who have interacted with those people face to face and managed to try to have conversation with them about, why don't you just come out and run with us or walk with us, and you would understand this more. But you have to believe that sometimes those things are motivated for other reasons other than just, they want to be asleep. So for me, as a white adjacent person, I am so proud to support this community and to help create space for, black and brown runners, because I've lived in Charlottesville all my life. Okay. And I wish it was a different experience, for people of color. And I'm happy to be a part of a movement that it helps to at least start to shift those things and create visibility for people that maybe haven't been seen before, who've been part of the running community, and to be a supportive part of that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Don't add anything?
Yeah, I would just like to say that it's also like very freeing, like when you get on a road or an extent of the route where there's like no cars, and so it feels like you're the first one out there, and it's just your area just to be. And then when you hit your sweet spot when you're running, it's just like, yeah, I want more of this. When we talk about the runner's high and those endorphins and things, they start to kick in, and it's just like, yes, this is where I belong. This is where I should be. And the greatest highlight for me is when you're running and you get to see the rising of the sun. Because I feel like that is Mother Nature's and God's gift to everyone that gets to open their eyes that morning. And just to see how it's painted across the sky, that is a bonus. That is an extra blessing that just I like to carry with me, because those are such unique colors. Yeah. When you watch the sunrise, that it just makes you so happy.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of us at some point have heard someone or read where someone refers to life as a marathon. And so I'm curious to know your thoughts on how running a marathon literally prepares you maybe, or helps you in this marathon of life, and pushing you to overcome new challenges or take on new things, or just overcome adversity and things like that. I'm sure it impacts all of you in that way.
So I turned 50 the year that we ran this marathon last year. Okay. It was thank you. It was a very hard time for me of transition in my personal life, and just 50 is a big deal, right? I came as a shock to me that I was actually turning 50. And I grew up with the idea that running was actually unhealthy for women. There was a family friend who tried to get me into it as an adolescent, and my mother was like, oh, women, it does terrible things to women's bodies. You won't be able to have children, like all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And then, I internalized that, thought of it as an unhealthy thing. I wasn't really drawn to physical activity at all. So I thought of myself as a weak person, really. And running this marathon, second only to birthing my children, is one of the things I'm most proudest of in my life, because I didn't have that base of knowing that what my body could do. And to have it aligned with really hard things I was going through in my life was such a gift. There were so many parallels there. to pushing through the hard things, but doing it with people who were there to support me, crying it out sometimes, and then that tremendous just feeling of being cleansed afterwards. Like I remember that feeling after the first long run. Just peace, you know? And so I think that's very much like life. Like we go through these hard times, these hard seasons, but there's joy on the other side. And I'll just add to it that the marathon really is the training. Getting up consistently every day, regardless of what other crap is happening in your life, and putting the physical work in is so hard. And if you can do that consistently, the marathon part, the actual running it that day is just like piece of cake. I mean, it's icing on the cake, right? That's your moment to enjoy.
She said no. What'd you say?
I mean, it's still hard.
You start running at 5:15?
No, that's when we wake up.
Oh, okay.
But longer runs over the summer, we were waking up at 4:30.
Yeah, I'd be late every day.
To beat the heat. Yeah.
Got you. Well, you think, you know, of course, if there's anything else anybody wants to add or feel like we're missing, but I definitely want to make sure that we, you know, close with the documentary to make sure, you know, you have sort of your final words on why people should see it, where they can see it, and how they can further support the mission of Prolyfyck and the Soul Sisters.
Everybody's pointing at one another. Come on, Tamia.
Got it turned up.
So find us on Prolyfyck Soul Systaz on Instagram, and Soul Systaz is spelled SOLESYSTAZ. You can also, so the documentary is linked in our bio there, and then you can also get the documentary on the Brooks YouTube and Prolyfyck YouTube.
Okay.
And what's the next marathon y'all running? Where are you going to be?
We're going to Savannah for the all women's marathon that's happening in November 16th. If any first time marathoners are out there, we're inviting all women to come join us, train with us, and be in community with us. Yeah, we're going to count that one up too. Definitely check out us on our social media sites. And please visit. And there will be a link on the Prolyfyck website where you can donate to the Soul Sister cause. As we stated before, it is expensive and it is pricey. And so our goal is to take some of that burden of what it would be like to run a marathon. But we can only do that if we have the community backing us and donating. So, yeah, please check us out.
Good work. Well, I want to thank you ladies for joining us.
Next.
Yeah. Look.
Oh,
Let me do my closing, please. I want to thank you ladies for taking the time to join us on the show today. I think I speak for the entire city of Charlottesville when you guys are a staple here. We've grown to know you and love you, and what you're doing means something to the city. It especially means something to the BIPOC community, and so I just want you to know that there's something also very beautiful about what you're doing, because I just feel like brown and black bodies in motion, doing what you guys are doing, it represents something. It represents an action. It represents an accomplishment. It's force, it's power, it's all of these things. And a lot of the reason I'm sure that these kids and these elderly people and these adults meet you on their door steps and sidewalks and house stoops and things like that is because they are in some ways embodying what it is that you are representing when you move through their streets. So the work you're doing is not going unnoticed. I want to give you your flowers now, and best of luck to you. Best of luck on that next marathon. I won't be there, but I will be supporting from Charlottesville. Go Soul Sisters.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.